Someone said it to you recently, maybe directly, maybe wrapped in something softer, but the implication was clear. You used to be more fun. And the strange thing is, you didn't argue. Not because they were right, but because somewhere underneath the words, you recognized something real. You have changed. The things that used to pull at you, the noise, the obligation, the need to be present everywhere, they pull differently now. Less. You don't know yet if that's growth or loss. You just know it feels quietly like relief. It's not antisocial. It's not giving up. And it is not the beginning of something you should be worried about. What's happening inside your brain right now is something the neuroscience has only recently been able to name. Your brain didn't stop caring. It upgraded what it cares about. Stay with me. Because understanding this changes everything about how you see the next 20 years. At some point in your 40s, the exact moment is hard to name, the math on social situations changed. You used to run a calculation before every invitation. I should go, it would be rude not to. Your presence at things was less a choice and more a social tax you paid. Now the calculation is different. Will this give me something? Or will I come home emptier than I arrived? Psychologists call this socio-emotional selectivity, which means as we move through midlife, we naturally shift from seeking breadth in relationships to seeking depth. This is why your closest friendships have deepened while the broader social surface has quietly contracted. Research from Stanford suggests this shift towards selectivity predicts higher life satisfaction, not lower. Midlife adults who embrace it report greater well-being than those who resist it. This is not avoidance. It is not fear. It is precision. The guilt you still feel is an old habit running on new hardware. The hardware updated. The guilt script didn't. You're not getting antisocial. You're getting accurate. You made a decision recently that surprised you, not a big one, a quiet one. Someone asked your opinion on something. And instead of the spiral you know well, the circular deliberation, the but what if I'm wrong, you just knew 20 seconds, maybe less. And that was enough. That clarity has a specific biological explanation. Neuroscientists call this late-stage myelination, which means the neural wiring carrying your most sophisticated judgment is still getting faster and more efficient. The insulation around those circuits is completing. Signals move cleaner with less interference. This is why decisions that required weeks of anxious deliberation at 27 take your 43-year-old self about 90 seconds. The culture says you peak young. The neuroscience says your judgment circuits peak now. The clarity upgrade has a physical address, and the wiring just finished finding it. There's a reason things that would have derailed your entire day at 28. A passive-aggressive comment. Being excluded from something, someone visibly unimpressed by you, now barely register. It is not because you've gone cold. Researchers call this reduced social evaluative threat sensitivity. Translation: your nervous system has stopped treating other people's opinions as emergencies. This is why the things that kept you awake at 2 in the morning at 28 genuinely don't occur to you at 43. Your amygdala, your brain's threat detection system, has spent decades collecting evidence on this. The conclusion it has reached: social disapproval is not a survival crisis. Your nervous system used to treat a colleague's eye roll like a lion attack. It had the categories confused. Research shows cortisol reactivity to social evaluation tasks peaks in the late 20s and declines measurably through midlife. Not colder, calmer. You are not losing warmth. You are gaining proportion. And here's what that does at the level of identity. Here's something remarkable. In your 40s, most people find that who they are when no one is watching begins to look a lot like who they are when everyone is watching. The performance gap begins to close. Personality researchers call this narrative identity consolidation, which means the story you tell about yourself becomes less about what others think of the story and more about whether the story is actually true. This is why the things you used to pretend to enjoy are getting harder to pretend about. Longitudinal personality studies tracking adults over decades consistently show that emotional stability increases and neuroticism decreases through midlife. The pattern holds across cultures and across generations. The cultural story says your 40s is when you settle, when you give up on who you were trying to be. The data says it's when you arrive. The clarity upgrade isn't only filtering noise from outside, it's amplifying the signal from inside. The things you've stopped forcing yourself to enjoy aren't casualties. They are artifacts of a performance you've outgrown, but there is a reason this is happening in your 40s specifically, not your 20s, not your 30s. Now, think about the last time someone manufactured urgency for you, a news cycle, a social media pile-on, something everyone apparently needed to have an opinion about by 4 o'clock, and you felt nothing, not numbness. A quiet, accurate read. This doesn't need my energy. Here's what nobody mentions when they hand you the midlife crisis narrative or the sports car. The traits you're developing in your 40s, reduced response to urgency, increased selectivity, less appetite for noise, are ancient, and they were selected for a specific purpose. Evolutionary psychologists note that mature adults serve a distinct adaptive function, not as novelty seekers, but as pattern recognizers, the ones with enough accumulated data to distinguish real signals from manufactured ones. The culture calls your reduced FOMO a symptom. The evolutionary biology calls it an asset coming online. This is not decline. This is the architecture of a different and essential kind of intelligence. Your system finally has enough data to tell the difference. That, by definition, is wisdom. Here's why this matters more right now than it ever has. The world you are living in, the feeds, the notifications, the 24-hour outrage cycle, was designed for a different brain, a younger one that still responds to every alarm. The behavioral technology behind social media is calibrated around 2 things: novelty seeking and social threat sensitivity. The same 2 systems your 40s brain is actively recalibrating away from. What looks like losing interest is actually gaining resistance. The things that had everyone riveted last week leave you vaguely exhausted. That is not jaded. Researchers call this immunity to manufactured urgency, a measurably reduced susceptibility to the psychological levers the attention economy uses to capture time. What looks like indifference is high-resolution filtering, the upgrade at work. In an economy designed to capture every available second of attention, a brain that can say, "I don't care," and genuinely mean it, that is not a problem. That is a power. Go back to that Friday evening, the kitchen, the quiet, the gathering you didn't attend, you waited for the guilt, and it didn't quite arrive. Now you know why. The prefrontal wiring completing, the cortisol system gaining proportion. The story you tell about yourself beginning to reference your values instead of your audience. Different angles, one upgrade. What looks like caring less is caring more accurately. What looks like withdrawal is selectivity. What looks like jaded is calibrated. So, what do you do with this? Stop explaining your selectivity. You do not owe anyone a justification for where you direct your energy. When the guilt script runs, ask it one question. Is this coming from my values or from a performance I've outgrown? Trust the quiet. The quiet is not emptiness. It is the system running clean. The clarity upgrade was always coming. You just had to stay long enough to receive it. So the next time someone implies you are less enthusiastic, less reactive, less easy to impress, you know what to say. The update finished. And updates, real ones, do not roll back. The brain systems responsible for judgment, values, and authentic self-knowledge are running more efficiently now than they have ever run before. You are not jaded. You are not washed up. You are not missing out. You are, possibly for the first time, operating on an accurate map of what actually matters to you. Stop waiting for the version of yourself from 10 years ago to come back and validate this.